As I crouched in the mud-filled trench, the distant echoes of artillery reverberated through the air. The stench of decay hung heavy around me. The never-ending rain drenched my weary body. I felt a deep sense of isolation, as if the world outside this trench had ceased to exist. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the mist that cloaked the battlefield. Its twisted form moved with an unnatural grace, its hollow eyes locked onto mine. I felt a chill crawl down my spine as I realized I was not alone in this desolate place. The hairs on my neck stood on end, and my heart pounded in my chest. I wanted to scream, to call for help, but no sound escaped my lips. The figure seemed to glide closer, its presence growing more oppressive with each step. My mind raced with thoughts of escape, but my body remained frozen in fear. The figure finally stood before me, towering over my huddled form. Its tattered uniform clung to its skeletal frame, and its pale, translucent skin seemed to melt into the surroundings. A voice, laced with sorrow and anguish, whispered in my mind, recounting tales of fallen comrades and lost souls. The encounter lasted mere moments, but it felt like an eternity. With a final, mournful gaze, the figure faded back into the mist, leaving me shaken and questioning my sanity. I knew that what I had witnessed went beyond the horrors of war. It was a glimpse into something far more sinister. Perched atop a crumbling building, I peered through the scope of my rifle, scanning the war-torn city below. The moonlight cast an eerie glow on the ruined streets, and an unsettling silence hung in the air. But it was not true silence. Faint whispers danced on the edge of my hearing, as if the spirits of fallen soldiers were conspiring against me. I dismissed the whispers as mere figments of my imagination, blaming the stress and exhaustion of combat. But as the nights wore on, the voices grew louder and more insistent. They spoke of the horrors they had witnessed, the atrocities committed in the name of war. With each passing night, I could feel their presence closing in on me. Shadows twisted and writhed, morphing into grotesque shapes, while the whispers became an incessant cacophony in my mind. I lost track of time, my sanity teetering on the edge of collapse. In a desperate attempt to escape the maddening whispers, I fled the rooftop, seeking refuge in the labyrinthine alleyways below. But the voices pursued me, their spectral cries echoing through the empty streets. I realized then that I had become a pawn in a macabre game, hunted by forces unseen. As I fought to maintain my grip on reality, I questioned whether the enemy was solely human. There was something else lurking in the darkness, a malevolent entity feeding on the anguish and despair of war. I was trapped in a nightmarish web of whispers, knowing that escape was impossible. Huddled inside a dilapidated bunker, I shivered with fear. The air was thick with a tangible sense of unease, as if the very walls were infused with the tormented souls of those who had sought refuge here before me. Whispers permeated the silence, accompanied by the echoes of distant screams that seemed to seep through the concrete. I could hardly distinguish between reality and nightmare as the hours dragged on. Faces materialized in the shadows, their anguished expressions etched in my memory. The walls seemed to close in, their weight pressing down on me, suffocating my spirit. Then, in the darkest corner of the bunker, a ghostly apparition materialized before my eyes. Its ethereal form exuded a haunting presence, and its gaze pierced through my very soul. I could sense the weight of its suffering, the anguish of a life cut short in the horrors of war. The specter's mournful eyes held me captive, drawing me deeper into its tragic existence. I listened, transfixed, as it whispered tales of lost comrades, of lives shattered by the violence of conflict. I realized that I was not alone in this bunker. I was surrounded by the restless spirits of those who had perished here. As the days turned into nights, my own spirit began to fray. I questioned whether I would ever escape the clutches of this haunted place, whether I would ever find solace beyond the confines of this desolate bunker. It was a survivor's tale intertwined with the supernatural, a story of a battle fought not only against the enemy, but against the lingering echoes of war's darkest horrors. In the heart of a battle-scarred field, I stumbled upon a hidden mass grave, its existence shrouded in secrecy. The air grew heavy, suffused with an unbearable sorrow that clung to my every breath. As I approached, the ground seemed to quiver beneath my boots, as if resonating with the agony of those who lay beneath. As I knelt among the forgotten dead, something stirred within the earth. Spectral figures began to rise from their shallow resting places, their tattered uniforms stained with the blood of battles long past. Their empty eyes fixed upon me, a silent accusation of the horrors they had endured. In that moment, the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred. The fallen soldiers reached out for me, their ghostly fingers grazing my skin with an icy touch. Their presence overwhelmed me, the weight of their collective pain threatening to drag me into the abyss. I desperately sought escape, stumbling back from the unearthly spectacle. The voices of the fallen echoed in my mind, whispering tales of betrayal, sacrifice, and untimely death. They were trapped in this cursed battlefield, forever reliving the horrors of war. With each passing moment, I could feel their anguish seeping into my very being. I was an unwitting witness to their torment, a living conduit for their restless spirits. The line between friend and foe became blurred, as the fallen sought retribution against the living for the sins committed upon this blood-soaked land. Cut off from my unit, I found myself deep within enemy territory, a lone soldier navigating a landscape fraught with danger. The cover of darkness enveloped me as I moved through the dense forest, my senses on high alert. Shadows danced ominously, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes that played tricks on my mind. Strange symbols etched onto the trees marked an ancient boundary, warning me of the forbidden ground I now tread upon. The air crackled with an otherworldly energy, and the woods seemed to whisper secrets that eluded my understanding. Suddenly, unearthly cries shattered the stillness of the night. I froze in my tracks as a pack of spectral wolves materialized before me, their eyes aglow with a sinister light. They moved with an ethereal grace, their forms flickering between corporeal and immaterial. Their eerie howls echoed through the forest.